Today we are going to do one of my favorite sections, and we have a guest star. Mrs. Patterson will be doing our handwriting today, so if you see her, you make sure you give her a high five and tell her she did an awesome job. Okay, we're going to talk about 11.3 notes, which is solving radical equations. A radical equation is any equation that contains a variable under the radical sign. We will solve radical equations by squaring both sides, and the goal is to set the variable alone, and we are going to change that word set to get. Yep. She's doing such a good job. And we're going to get radical equations by squaring both sides. And we're going to get rid of the radical sign. Okay, so when we look at number 1, we have the square root of x is equal to 3. So we will square both sides. And 3 squared will be 9, so our solution is going to be x is equal to 9. See, when we take the square and that takes the square root sign, and they undo each other, they're inverse operations, so all that's left is the variable. So when we have the square root of x equals 12, we'll square both sides, and we get x is equal to 144. Okay, sometimes there are binomials under the radical, and we're going to solve them the same way. We will square both sides first, and then we will solve for x. So when we look at number 3, we have the square root of x plus 1 equals 3. We square both sides. We are left with just x plus 1 is equal to 9. And then we'll solve this like a regular two-step equation. Subtract 1 from both sides, and we're left with x is equal to 8. Okay, let's look at number 4. The square root of 2x minus 1 equals 5. So we'll square both sides, and then we are left with 2x minus 1 equals 25. And then we just have a two-step equation to solve. So we'll add 1 to both sides. And then we will divide by 2. And we'll get that our solution is x is equal to 13. Okay, let's move on to some where there's some more work involved. Sometimes we have multiple steps that we need to first isolate the radical sign before we square both sides. So when we look at number 5, that minus 5 that's on the left-hand side is not under the square root. So we need to move that by adding 5 to both sides. So we're left with the square root of 2x minus 1 is equal to 10. Thank goodness. And then we'll square both sides. And then we have 2x minus 1 is equal to 100. Then we just solve our two-step equation, add 1 to both sides. So 2x is equal to 101. Divide both sides by 2, and then we will be left with our solution of x is equal to 50.5. If you want to leave it as a fraction, you can switch it to a decimal, however you prefer, that's fine with me. Number next, we have 3 times the square root of x plus 1 minus 15. So we're trying to get the square root by itself. So first we're going to add 15 to both sides. So we're left with 3 times the square root of x plus 1 equals 9. And then we'll go ahead and we will take the square root, or I'm sorry, listen to me, I can't even talk. Divide both sides by 3. And then we are left with the square root of x plus 1 equals 3. And then we'll square both sides. And then we'll have x plus 1 equals 9. Subtract 1, and we will get that x is equal to 8. This is one of my favorite things that we've done since I guess 11.2. Next, sometimes there are radicals on both sides of the equation. So what we will do is we will square both sides, then we'll get the x's to one side and solve. So we look at number 7, we have two things being square rooted. I don't think that's correct English, but we're going to go ahead and square both sides. And then we're just left with what's underneath the radical. So 3x minus 3 is equal to 2x plus 8. We'll subtract 2x from both sides. And then we will just solve what remains in our equation. We'll have x is equal to 11. Number 8. Same thing, we've got two things that are underneath the square root, so we will just square both sides. And then we write our equation without the square root signs. 13 minus x is equal to 3x minus 15. It's probably going to be easier if we add x to both sides. And then we can add 15 and finish solving our equation. So we're left with x is equal to 7. Woohoo! Okay, let's try the last two, which are a little bit more complicated. When solving radical equations, because we square both sides, sometimes the solution is not going to work out when we plug it back in. These are called extraneous solutions. We will exclude these from our answer. We will avoid these by always checking our work. A lot of times people want to have a shortcut rule like, oh, you always cross off the positive or the negative. And that's not always going to be the case. So we're going to need to be careful to always check our work on these. Okay, so when we look at number 9, we see we have a variable on both sides of the equation. So when we square it, we square both sides, we get x squared equals 2x plus 15. Now we have a quadratic because we have something to the second power, so we're going to go ahead and set this equal to 0. And when we do that, we have x squared minus 2x minus 15 equals 0. It's okay. Just erase it. Oh yeah, Mrs. Patterson's having so much fun. I wish we could video her.
I'm so glad you can.
If you want to use the quadratic formula, you can. If you want to graph it, that's fine. If you want to complete the square, that's fine. But hopefully this is one that's easy for us to factor. What factors of 15 add up to 2? And so this is going to factor to x minus 5 times x plus 3. This is going to give us our two solutions. Our x is equal to 5. And x is equal to negative 3. All right, what we're going to go ahead and do now is we're going to show our step where we check it. Actually, we'll do that tomorrow. We're going to end up crossing off x is equal to negative 3 because that's going to be our extraneous solution. And we'll go ahead and we'll talk about that in class on Monday as to why that needs to be crossed out. Okay, let's look at number 10. X is equal to 20 minus x underneath the square root, so we'll square both sides. We have x squared is equal to 20 minus x. And we're going to go ahead and set this equal to 0, so x squared plus x minus 20 is equal to 0. Again, you can solve this using any of the methods, but let's go ahead and factor it. So we have x plus 5 times x minus 4. And so our two solutions will be negative 5 and positive 4. And the extraneous solution is going to be negative 5 because if we look at the original problem, if we were to plug in negative 5, we're never going to get negative 5 once we take the square root of something. So our solution will just be x equals 4. We can cross off negative 5. Okay, so Monday we will talk about when we're going to have extraneous solutions and when we specifically need to check for them. Have a lovely weekend! Woohoo!